No hope of dawn. The Ashveil Reliquary had no business being beautiful. It sat in the throat of the mountains like something forgotten there, circular and low, built from the same dark stone as the peaks that surrounded it. The reliquary did not invite visitors. That was, in part, the point. Inside, the common rooms curved around the outer ring of the structure in a slow arc, with stone floors worn smooth. It smelled of candle wax and cold air, and the faint mineral sharpness of the mountain itself. At the center of it all, separated from the rest by a passage of unadorned stone, sat the inner sanctum. In the center was a stand protected by a shimmering barrier. Behind that barrier rested Veilsunder, a shield of dark iron, its edges traced in pale bone-white filigree. Emric had been an acolyte at the reliquary for 40 days. He was not supposed to touch the relic. He was not supposed to enter the inner sanctum without Keeper Brennan present. Keeper Brennan was the broad-shouldered and grey-bearded priest dedicated to keeping the relics safe. Pell and Oswin were the seasoned sentinels there to assist the keeper. It was Oswin who first noticed the silence. They were at supper. The fire was going. Outside was eerily quiet. Pell said,
"Something is wrong."
Keeper Brennan was already standing. They came at twilight, out of the grey nothing between day and dark, and they came from every direction at once. Emric heard them before he saw them. Skeletons at the edges, moving with horrible efficiency. Zombies behind them, slower, heavier. Between them, shapes that slid rather than walked. Spectres bleeding cold light from the spaces where their eyes had been. And behind all of it, in the darkness of the tree line below, things that had not yet moved. Waiting.
Emric.
Brennan's voice was very level.
With Oswin, board the passage doors. Everyone, move.
He moved. What followed was not heroism. Not yet. It was work. The desperate physical labor of frightened hands trying to outpace what was coming through the walls. Oswin directed and Emric hauled. Heavy beams across the inner passage doors, furniture dragged and wedged, every gap assessed and blocked. Oswin summoned a small messenger in the shape of a bird. He wrote a message with 3 words on a strip of cloth, tied it to the bird's leg, and let it fly out the window. A grey shape swallowed immediately by the dark sky.
Good,
Oswin said to no one. Then he picked up his weapon and walked toward the sound of Brennan's voice. They held the outer ring. Not easily, not cleanly, but they held it. Brennan and Pell took the undead that broke through the outer doors, and they were formidable, both of them, in the way that only the very experienced are formidable. Calm, efficient. Pell cast enhancement prayers on both of them, and for a time the outer ring was alight with the low golden flare of consecrated strikes, and the undead fell back, and fell, and unraveled. But there were too many. Emric and Oswin moved between the inner doors, shoring, patching, casting the smaller protective prayers Emric could reliably manage. Emric's hands shook. He did not let them stop moving. He cast a sealing ward over the eastern passage door and felt it take hold, felt the cold resistance of it pushing back against what pressed on the other side. And something in his chest loosened very slightly, because he had not been sure it would work. They fought through the first hours. The candles in the outer ring burned down. Brennan called out positions in a voice that never rose above controlled urgency. Pell's prayers grew shorter, more clipped, as his reserves thinned. Emric cast healing toward them when he could, small restorations, a steadied hand here and there. His own reserves were shallow. He knew it. He rationed carefully. Then Pell went down. It was fast. Faster than it should have been. A spectre that had slipped through a gap no one had seen, moving through shadow the way spectres do, without the physics of the living to slow it. Pell turned toward it, and the cold took him before the prayer left his lips, and he did not cry out. He simply went still, and fell, and did not get up. Oswin was there before the spectre could press its advantage. He drove it back with a word of sundering. It scattered like smoke in wind. He stood over Pell for exactly 1 breath. Then he took Pell's place beside Brennan. The 3 of them became 2, and the walls got louder. Emric was alone in the inner passage now, cycling through every protective ward he could still manage. The undead were pressing every door simultaneously now. He could hear Brennan's voice, steady as stone. He could hear Oswin's shorter, harder responses. He told himself that as long as he could hear them, it was not over. Then Brennan's voice, changed. Lower. Slower. The sound of a man giving everything that remains in one final effort. Emric reached the outer ring just in time to see it. Brennan in the middle of a press of undead, surrounded on all sides, his shield arm lowering degree by degree as the weight of them drove him down. Not quickly. Brennan did not go quickly. He went the way stone erodes, inch by inch. The magical barrier over the relic flickered, dimmed, went out. The inner sanctum was open. Oswin grabbed Emric's arm. His grip was iron.
The shield.
He said.
Go, now, get Veilsunder. Do not stop.
You can't hold them alone.
I know.
He shoved Emric toward the passage.
Go.
Emric ran to retrieve the relic. He got the shield strap over his arm. It was heavy, heavier than it looked. He ran back. He heard Oswin before he saw him. A sound that was not a word. Then silence. Then the sounds of the undead, filling the space where a man's voice had been. He came through the passage door and stopped. He did not let himself look for long. There was no time, and it would not help, and Oswin would not have wanted him to stop. He told himself these things very quickly, and then he raised the shield and kept moving. He did not know how long he fought. There was only the next one, and the next, and the weight of the shield on his arm growing heavier with each minute. He lost his arm an hour before dawn. A ghoul had come from behind a door he thought he had sealed, and it was faster than the others, and the claws found his left arm just below the elbow before the shield turned it. He did not immediately understand what had happened. Then he saw it and understood. He had one spell left. One. He had been saving it. A simple holy flame prayer. He cast it on the wound. He winced from the pain. His right arm tightened on the shield strap, and he turned back to the passage doors, and he did not let himself go still, because he knew if he went still, he would not rise again. He fought on. Skeleton after skeleton, zombie after zombie. The passage doors held, barely, creaking under pressure that never stopped. He sealed the gaps he could still reach. He spoke the word of unmasking until his voice was raw. The sky beyond the high-slit windows did not lighten. Dawn would not come fast enough. This was as far as he was going. He could not reach the doors. He could not retreat. There was only what was in front of him and the relic in his one remaining hand. He tightened the strap with his teeth. He raised the shield. The first wave came. He met it. He was still standing when it broke over him and past him, and he was still standing when the second wave came, and by the third he was no longer standing in any meaningful sense, only a bit upright, only with the use of the shield now firmly planted in the ground. He knew he would not survive this. Then the air tore. He almost missed it, the sign of a magical passage opening. Then another to his right. Then another beyond the outer doors. Through the first one stepped a man in pale armor, tall, unhurried. Behind him came clerics, 2, 3, moving with the efficiency of people who had arrived at the end of things before. Valorian Thessal, high paladin of the Veil, crossed the corridor in 7 strides and a few swift strikes with his sword. The autonomous undead fell away, broken, and the other undead, capable of any sliver of fear, parted to the side as if pushed by his mere presence. He reached him. He looked at the shield in his hand, at what was left of his arm, at his face.
We will take it from here,
He said.
You can rest now.
And he did. Emric woke in a bed with bandages over the area where his arm used to be. The clerics were unable to fully heal the wound inflicted by the undead, but it was stable. He rolled out of the bed and made his way to the inner sanctum. There he saw the relic, with a couple more dents and a few new scratches, but now it sat secure behind a new magical barrier. This has been a chapter from the Negsbane Iron series. Follow @Negsbane for more.